Welcome to the latest edition of the Wrestling Authority podcast.
Ooh, an extreme episode.
That's right. I'm your host, Jim, and join me, my co-host, as always, Ricky Orozco. Ricky, what's up?
What's up, Jim? I'm excited for another week of podcast for our opinion and see what the fans think.
That's right.
For the
and
WWE Universe.
Yep, and we have a pay-per-view weekend this weekend, so Extreme Rules is right upon us. So we got a lot to cover on today's show. We're going to go over Monday Night Raw, and we're going to hit up our predictions for this Sunday's pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, emanating right here from Chicago, our hometown.
Arena, can't wait.
Yeah, so overall, quickly, what'd you think of Raw, the go-to home show before the pay-per-view? Usually it's the show that, builds all the feuds. But what'd you think? It was kind of good or underwhelming?
I thought it was pretty average. For this Raw, I was looking more at different things, just for things in the long run, like past Extreme Rules personally.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking more at the situation with Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns and like Seth Rollins and Kane. So I was looking at stuff like that, me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to figure out who Bray Wyatt's calling out.
Yeah, that's still a mystery. I think we kind of are getting some rumors out there online who it is, but definitely hasn't been clear on TV.
Right. And if the rumors are true, I feel like it's a head scratcher.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's definitely a head scratcher. I would have gone another way, but what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about this past Monday?
Well, I thought it was a okay show. I mean, there isn't that much that you could do besides kind of promote the feuds going into the pay-per-view. That's what you look for on a show like that, is to see the big matchups emphasized, and I think they centered the show on kind of Orton and Seth Rollins, obviously, them being the main event on the show. So I think they did a solid job working the entire show around them and kind of focusing on that. I
liked how Randy was arcing the crap out of anyone in sight.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was the big takeaway from the show, is just the focus on Orton taking out his RKO, since it's not going to be involved in the pay-per-view, so he got an early start on that.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Kind of old school. They've done it in the past. I think might have been done with stunners in the past by Stone Cold. But yeah, that was cool. It was cool to kind of see Orton in different segments backstage, RKOing Heath Slater, eating a salad, So yeah, it was RKO Palooza on Monday night.
He got the New Day.
Mm-hmm. Boy, are they bad or what? I mean, jeez. They were, I think, the second match of the show, and they're just so bad. I just kept on thinking, these guys should have been the Nation of Domination, the new Nation of Domination. Why did they mess that up?
That's a good question. And a lot of internet wrestling fans in the community, they were all rooting for the Nation.
Mm-hmm.
They were all rooting for it, and I think WWE had a huge opportunity to do with that. I don't know why they didn't go with it. Maybe they didn't want to maybe recycle an old stable, I guess.
It was a good stable, though. It's a stable that most don't even remember because it's been so long.
Exactly. They were great. They were fun. I love the Nation of Domination.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the New Day, since day one, the fans are just not with it. And now it looks like they're trying to tease a heel turn.
Yeah, well, they're forced to it because the group is so bad. And they just tried to go as over this big time faces, and it just fell flat because they're just so cheesy and corny, and just they don't even have a talk. They don't even have a spokesperson in the group. Kofi can't talk. Big E can't talk.
No.
And was. I mean, I thought they were gonna have more members to the group. I thought R-Truth could have been a good mouthpiece for that group.
R-Truth would have been an interesting one.
Yeah, I think that would have been an interesting choice as kind of the leader and mouthpiece of the group.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really doing anything, so why not?
Right.
Yeah,
And that would have been a little bit more formidable and a guy that could wrestle because obviously there's only two of them that wrestle, which is Kofi
yeah,
and Big E.
yeah, man. I don't understand why they only use two.
Oh, because the other one can't wrestle.
True. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
True.
he's just a small guy that really he's just yeah it wouldn't be legitimate if he was involved in matches. I think because he'd be crushed.
Yeah. It's
But yeah, that's enough about New Day. Uh, Raw started out with Randy Orton, starting with a promo inside of a steel cage.
hmm
It was typical Orton promo, just kind of, the only funny thing I found about it is when he said something about, oh, the amazing fans here. I mean, come on, Orton. That just sounded like such a line that he wouldn't say. Just calling the fans amazing.
it's an old school Mick Foley pop.
Yeah, but coming from Orton, it just sounds so weird and odd. That's a guy that's always cutting such heel promos and him just sucking up. He does a bad job sucking up to the fans when he's a face. I mean, it's so
Mm.
unnatural for him. You can tell.
That's like you said in the past. Everyone said it. He's a natural heel.
Right. And when he tries to force that whole face thing, he goes overboard. He starts
Yeah.
praising the fans and there's no middle ground for him. Like
No.
for him it would be ideal to be like a Stone Cold type of face, where
Yeah.
you're still doing stuff a badass would do, but you're not pandering to the fans. And I feel
Right.
like Orton kind of tries to do that when he's trying to be that top baby face in the company.
Technically, right now in his feud against Rollins, he's kind of seen like that, isn't he?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, right now he pretty much is the only big time babyface in the main event scene since
Mm.
Cena's working the mid card, which is
Right.
crazy to say, and Daniel Bryan's now having issues again with his injury,
Yeah, that's
so that is
terrible to
not
hear.
good.
Especially that he just got the Intercontinental title,
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks. It sucks for any wrestler, really. When you have those nagging injuries. And he's had it going on for over a year now. And
Right, but it's more than nagging. For him, it's a pretty serious problem. We're talking about
yeah,
a neck and a loss of feeling, and
mhm,
these are issues that can easily put away. In a sense, I wouldn't say it's reminiscent, but it might be a path that Edge had to take where he
right,
retired due to neck injuries. Neck injuries are something you don't mess with, and
you
that's
don't.
one of the injuries that's a career killer. And definitely Brian has had that.
Yeah,
And he had multiple surgeries, and
mhm.
now with it kind of lingering and coming back, that's just not a good sign.
It's not. It's terrible. And speaking of Edge with his neck injury, he was on a recent podcast. I don't remember if it was Jericho's or if it was Taz.
Hmm.
But he was on a recent one saying, I think it was Jericho, if I'm not mistaken. He said that neck injuries are very serious in professional wrestling,
Right.
and he talked about, what's his name from Mexico, the recent neck injury situation where the guy passed away in the ring,
Yeah.
and he's like, after I saw that video, he said he freaked out a lot more because he's like, holy crap, that could have been me.
Yeah.
And when you think, if you look at that video, I know it's probably easier said than done, but Daniel Bryan, I think he should really honestly think about his future long term after
He should.
wrestling.
He should. And you know what? And it's he had a great run. He got to the top. It's not like someone who was kind of climbing the ladder and was so
Mm,
close. He achieved his moment. He WrestleMania 30 was all about him,
yeah,
and he was champion,
mm,
and he made a comeback again and had a really nice run now going up to this WrestleMania, got to Intercontinental title. But
right,
if this issue is coming back, that's telling you something. That means the
I agree.
body's not responding. And
Mm,
for him to especially being the wrestler he is, who takes a pounding, he
yeah,
takes bumps, he's a
mm,
wild loose cannon in the
yep.
ring. He
Since
doesn't
his
know how to
Indies days,
yeah, he doesn't know how to slow it down, and that's just not his style.
yeah,
It's definitely something to consider, and he needs to step away and figure out what he's gonna do with his future.
yes. I mean, he got married to
Brie
to
Bella.
Brie. So I know he looks like a type of guy. He's a family guy.
Mm-hmm.
Should he like we said he should think about that. And yeah, man, it sucks. It just sucks to see that.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
we'll see what happens with that.
yeah. And then if you ask me, also sorry,
Mhm.
if you don't mind me, like last comment I'll add throw in.
Oh no, no,
I'm
no.
the type of guy that I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And he came back. He got hurt. I feel like everything happens for a reason. He's got to take this notice.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I think everything does happen for a reason, and if this is coming back again, then that's just bad news.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had Seth Rollins come out, jaw away at Orton back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Those two just work great
Yeah.
together. They work off each other awesome. Seth is just the best at playing the cowardly heel, the type of heel we haven't seen in a while. Actually, I think the
No.
last time we saw a cowardly heel like that was Edge when he was on top. Um,
Yeah, that's a good one. I think Edge, and then prior to Edge, maybe Triple H.
In a sense, yeah, Triple H had his moments, but he always still always had that tough ass type of
Yeah.
thing. He never he did hide behind the Stephanie and the McMahons at some point, but there was still that thing about him where he was imposing, intimidating. I think Edge was the sneaky manipulator, who kind of ran away from people and hid behind Vicky Guerrero, and then he had his edge heads, which was
The
Zack
ultimate
Ryder.
opportunist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. So it kind of reminds me of that kind of heel, and Seth Rollins is just doing an awesome job at it.
Yes, he's great. Like I've said it before, I say it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times again. The kid is gonna be a star by the time his career's over.
No doubt about it. He already is one, and
Yeah.
it's just getting better. Um, Next up, we had Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper. It was supposed to be a match, but it was just a no contest. The two just kind of went at it, and that's just was an ultimate obvious setup for the pay per view match.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you had some nice backstage segments. I think a lot. The good thing about this week's Raw was the backstage segments. I think you had a lot of them
Yeah.
with not only Orton just vowing to RKO everyone, which he did, but then you had Seth Rollins kind of trying to avoid Orton. You had
Yeah.
a little encounter with the primetime players,
Mm-hmm.
and then Triple H interfering, and kind of giving Seth a pep talk.
He had his encounter with Kane again.
Yes. Yeah. That was free. Triple H did a lot of backstage segments in this show.
True, he's making up for the London show where he wasn't at.
Mm-hmm.
He's making up for that. But yeah, I don't mind segments, me personally. I think
No,
if they're done right, they're fun.
they
They're
are
cool.
fun, and it's something WWE has gone away with in the past few years. I think it just adds kind of to the show. You always want to see what's going on backstage, different interactions. You just don't want to see everything play out in the ring. So it's kind of cool to have more backstage segments, which is something they used to do a lot of.
They did back then. Why do you think? What do you think? Why they pulled away from it? Do you think it's maybe they don't have faith of guys on the mic or what?
Yeah, that might be a sense of it. There's really no explanation. There's no reason to go away from something like that because, to do a little vignette backstage,
Mm,
it's pretty simple. You just need a quick little promo, nothing crazy. I think anyone should be capable of cutting a quick promo, a backstage segment,
right.
like that. Maybe it's that they don't technically, besides Renee Young, they don't have any backstage interviewers anymore. They used that usually is like a key to do like a
True.
little backstage interview segment, and there really is no one anymore. And
They're
back in
trying
the
to
day,
bring up guys from like NXT, which is I feel like it's so random.
it is random, and the thing is, you need to be a bit familiar with them to do that. The fans need to be, and a lot of majority of the casual fans still don't watch NXT. So they don't know who they are.
Right. I feel like if they would at least with the new people doing the interviews,
Hmm.
if they brought them in slowly, I think that would be okay. But I feel like they're just going boom all out all at
Yeah,
once.
they really are.
Um,
So then, Lucha Dragons versus the New Day. I'm not even going to talk about New Day and Xavier Woods. I just want to talk about how Lucha Dragons keep on looking awesome, and how exciting they are. And the New Day actually got a win, which blows my mind.
I was mad at the moment, but the way I see it, I was like, you know what? That's fine. Because let's say by some miracle, New Day gets the tag titles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they will, but let's say by some miracle, they're the heels, they have the titles, and then Lucha Dragons, the good guys, they win the titles.
That could happen, and I would, you could see potentially New Day getting the titles, but you can easily see them losing to anyone. They're
Mm-hmm.
not a formidable team. They're just kind of, I guess, the newest team, in the tag team
I
division.
think it could get them some heat too with the
It could.
fans.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting heat just because, you see, the thing about their heat, it's not heat that they're just getting heat because they're bad. Like, they're just awful. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
heat they're getting. They're not getting heat because they're heels, and
Right.
they're doing their job. It's because they're so bad and boring. That's the heat you're getting, and that's not the kind of heat you really want.
Right.
And just to show that when Orton came out and RKO'd Xavier Woods and Kofi, I mean that gave him like the pop of the night,
Yeah.
because they just didn't want to see these guys. They're so hated and unliked that anyone that's going to interfere with them or feud with them is just going to get a pop.
It's hilarious. But speaking of tag team divisions, I read online, which I was a little surprised, that Vince is apparently a huge fan of the Lucha Dragons.
That's interesting.
I read online that supposedly he's a huge fan of them, and he's loving how over they are right now.
They're definitely over for sure.
And what he really likes, supposedly, according to this online rumor, is that they're Latin wrestlers with the lucha libre gimmick, with the mask and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, that's what WWE wanted to find.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that. That's something they needed to find.
Right. So that's why I was like, I can see these guys getting the tag titles on pretty soon, or if not soon, at least this year.
Yeah, no, that could you could see that. There's got to be a point where you got to elevate these guys pretty fast since
Mm-hmm.
they're in need and the fans are behind them. They're in need of WWE loves masked superstars and fans are behind them already. So I could definitely see that. Someone that did turn face officially now. It wasn't only the UK thing. It was Fandango, and he got a match with Curtis Axel, Axelmania.
Oh, Axelmania.
Yeah, and actually, good for Curtis. He's actually getting over with that little gimmick. He needed something, as goofy as it is, and it's almost a parody because he keeps on getting beat. But at least it gives him a reason to be on TV every week.
I agree. I think he's got talent.
Oh, he definitely does have talent. He can't talk. He's a perfect guy that does need a mouthpiece, and Paul Heyman was a good one for him. But he can wrestle for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's got it from his dad, man. He's
Mm-hmm.
got it from his dad.
And Fandango actually picks up here a easy kind of quick win. So maybe that is a minor push for Fandango, like we kind of been we mentioned last week. Will this be a turning point? Will this be a push? And so far, our prediction's kind of right on. It wasn't a UK thing; they're back in the States, and looks like a face Fandango is getting a slight push.
Exactly. And supposedly, I guess storyline wise, he dropped Rosa Mendez.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you noticed, it was interesting because Rosa appeared with Adam Rose.
I think they're just gonna throw anything at Adam Rose because he's just bad, and there's a need to throw in Rosa somewhere into the mix.
For a quick second, I was like, are they gonna like tease a Fandango Adam Rose feud all of a sudden? Because didn't they do something with Summer Rae? Oh, with Summer Rae and Layla, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was just my curious thinking. But yeah, Adam Rose, I'm not a fan of Adam Rose since day
No,
one.
he's just bad. There's nothing interesting about the guy. He's got a really weird gimmick. They really tried to go for the fan. That was supposed to be like a big gimmick. The fans are going to get behind. He was supposed to be the Fandango in a sense, a new Fandango. With a gimmick, with a posse. He was supposed to get tons of fans behind him, and it just didn't work from the start.
I didn't like it. I didn't. And were you? Do you know anything about his Leo Kruger character before?
I do not.
It's I don't understand what I don't know if it's his friends going on, but on Twitter, him and Zack Ryder, more Ryder, was picking on Adam Rose,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying something about Leo Kruger and Adam Rose, and I don't know if that's just them having fun behind the scenes or if they were maybe trying to do something for TV. I don't know, but I saw
Possibly
that. I
both,
don't know.
because both can get on TV, especially Ryder. But they're just forgotten. I mean, and rightfully so, because there's nothing redeeming about him.
It's he tried changing up his pants, his look, but
That's not gonna help.
it's not. Yeah, I was like, you need a lot more than just different pants.
Yeah. Someone who was wearing the pants was Kane, for the past couple of weeks, leading the Authority when Triple H was gone, but Triple H had come out to the ring and finally made that announcement about Tough Enough. That
Yeah,
they're really pushing that show, aren't they?
yeah. I was a little surprised. And do they go? Are they? Is it really open for anyone, or do they look more like indie guys and
Well, the
stuff?
thing is this. I actually got the press release for that, for my movie blog email, which is interesting. And it's the reality of the situation basically boils down to is they do want a couple actually people who would be brand new to the business and, kind of green. And that's more so for just TV shock value to
Okay.
have someone and kind of give the fans a real hope, like, oh, this person's never wrestled, but he's been a lifelong fan, let's get behind him, that type of thing. But the majority of the cast is going to be consisted of former wrestlers who have been on the indie scene. So that's the majority of the cast is going to be wrestlers who we're unfamiliar with but have been successful in the indies or different promotions, or even on the verge of being an NXT, potential NXT people. They're just going to go straight to there. Apparently, I forgot the wrestler's name, but he wanted to try out, some fairly well-known guy from the indies wanted to try out for WWE, and they told him to apply for Tough Enough instead.
I think I did hear about that.
Right. I forgot who it
Yeah,
was, though.
I think I did hear something about that. Apparently, he's a big, good guy, like a
Mm-hmm.
big name, good guy on the indie circuit.
Right.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they throw it because I know they like their college football players that didn't make the NFL.
And those are going to be the other part of them. So you might see 1 to 2 just regular people, but it's probably going to be 7 to 8 at least on the show.
Uh,
And those are all going to be wrestlers and, or, former big time athletes.
yeah.
But they're promoting a show. It's going to be on USA, I believe, and starting in June. So it's gonna get a good promotion. Unlike, well, the first one did. The first one did well. The first Tough Enough, but then as they went on, it kind of became second rate and
Yeah.
unimportant. So now, especially the second Tough Enough, the one that Miz was in, where it was just running on SmackDown, just segments of it.
I was actually a fan of the old school MTV Tough Enough.
Yes, the
I
MTV
was a
Tough Enough
big
was
fan of.
good. Right. That's the one
Yeah.
that promoted, the one with Maven and the first 2 seasons of that one. But when I think season 3 they moved it to just a segment on SmackDown every week, that was just brutal.
I think they had Miz and Ryback, no, in the same class.
They did. And then they brought it back to USA, I believe. And that was hosted by Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that did pretty well. That
I
was a
didn't see that
USA
one,
one.
but I did hear. I heard it was not too bad.
Yeah, it had some credible names. It had Stone Cold, Trish, and Booker T on a weekly basis. So that was on USA. I believe it was on Tuesday nights, Tuesday or Wednesday nights. It was right when ECW was airing too, also.
Not bad.
But yeah, no, that show went over well, and I think they're gonna promote this one again. Triple H kind of referred to it as looking for the next Seth Rollins, which is kind of cool.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Naomi, the new heel Naomi versus Brie Bella, with Paige suddenly just out of the picture. Yeah, now, I'm trying to figure this out. Did they intentionally, obviously, Paige is being written off and doesn't seem like she has a legitimate injury. They're just trying to write her up for storyline reasons off TV. So Naomi gets the shot, but why not have Naomi win that battle royal in the first place then?
Yeah. From what I was reading online, Paige is being. I guess she's gonna be doing a WWE film. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think that's why they wrote her off.
That might make sense then.
So I was like, okay, so she'll be out for probably a month and a half tops. But I agree. I think the only reason they had Paige win was because of the London crowd.
Yeah.
I think that's really the only reason. But I agree. I was like, I would have just had Naomi win to make it seem easier, but I guess this kind of helps her become heel. So you get her become heel by taking out the fan favorite Paige, especially in her hometown.
Yeah. And the thing is, I do think Naomi deserves her chance.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
She had some bad luck in the past. She was so close to being a champion, and then her injury set her back. And it's time of all they need to freshen things up in a Divas division with AJ now gone. It's been only literally the Bellas versus Paige, and you need someone new, someone kind of credible, and definitely Naomi's the one in line. And if there hasn't been a time or need ever to call up an NXT diva, it's right now when
Oh
the
yes.
pickings are slim. AJ's gone. There's going to be a change of the guard. I think Naomi, is going to be promoted now heavily. Paige is out. You need to bring up these divas. I mean, I don't know what they're waiting for anymore, especially Charlotte. She's as ready as anyone.
I agree. I would call up Charlotte, Bailey, and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, but at least one of them has to make a debut like any day now.
If I had to put my money on it, I would say Charlotte.
Yeah,
She's like you said, she's ready. She's good to
she's
go.
definitely ready. So she should be next. We hear from Roman Reigns, who comes out and starts trying to cut a promo until Bo Dallas
Oh,
comes and
Dallas,
interferes.
believe that.
Yeah, it was hard to believe actually that he came out because I haven't seen him in a while. And Bo Dallas, it just made me think right away. This guy was actually being pushed when the gimmick started,
Mm-hmm.
and he had some impressive wins over some guys, and this looked like someone that's going to be definitely heavily involved in the mid card, and then just it fell apart.
Yeah, I remember that when he had an undefeated streak,
Right.
and our truth was the one that ended it. I don't. I never really understood why he was getting pushed, but at the same time, I didn't understand why they stopped
Killed the
pushing him.
push. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was just. I think they were going with the push with the Tim Tebow thing, and his promos were actually really good.
I think
It
he's
was
hilarious.
catchy. Yeah, it was catchy, and the fans were hating on him,
Mm-hmm.
and he was involved. He was feuding with some main event guys too, and then just they gave it to our truth, and that was it. That was the killing point right there.
Yeah, it sucks. I like Bo Dallas person. I just think he's hilarious.
Yeah,
I
definitely
think
is.
he's hilarious, and I mean he's Bray Wyatt's brother, so I mean them two can. It'd be funny to see them two work together, even though Bray Wyatt would just destroy him.
Yeah, it would be fun to see it. I believe Bo Dallas is the younger one.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but we know how this one ends. Roman Reigns completely knocks him out with the Superman punch. And I did like the play on words with Roman going. He showed a little bit of personality right there. I think that was the first Reigns moment that I thought he didn't look stiff and he actually was pretty cool with what he said. His promo was funny when he said, "Believe that," believe this, kind of playing
Love it.
on. It was a funny, charming Roman Reigns, which he's always kind of accused of being too amped up and too serious, and that's why he comes off as awkward on the mic. But you saw Roman Reigns kind of let loose for finally, and not try to be that cool, too serious, tough guy, and it actually worked. It
Right.
was funny. It made
Just
me
being
laugh.
himself.
Yeah, I think he needs to keep on working, doing things like that to get himself over. Then we have, of course, now the jobbers appeared on Raw, and that was Zack Ryder being fed to Sheamus. I don't get that. It's not like we're seeing Sheamus being established for the first time in this company
Yeah.
like Rusev was. You could see someone like Rusev coming up and getting Zack Ryder as sacrificial meat, but Sheamus just returning. There's no reason for him to fight Zack Rollins and even crush him. He needs to get someone more meaningful.
I think they just did it just for Zack Ryder, just be like, here, stop complaining. Here's a match. You're gonna get squashed. But I agree. I mean, Sheamus doesn't need to. He doesn't need that.
No, and
He doesn't need that.
I don't think they did anything for Zack Ryder. They just don't care about Zack Ryder.
They don't, man. You know what? The
It was
guy
a filler
loves.
for Sheamus. It was just a filler to get
Yeah.
him on TV. They had nothing going. He's gonna have a match at the pay-per-view.
Mhm.
So it was really just kind of a quick type of thing.
Yeah, I feel like they're just trying to buy some time because I don't know unless Sheamus goes after a title or something after Ziggler. I can't really see. I can't really picture him doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's something gonna go on with Sheamus. I think they have pretty big plans for him. I think you might see him really soon in a main event scene. In a sense, he won't be feuding with Rollins or the heels anyone, but he potentially could be an Orton opponent soon as Orton's done working with Rollins.
Do you think he can compete for the U.S. title
Yeah,
going after
I
Cena?
think that could be a next guy in line.
I can see that. I mean, it's still an international thing, like like with Russo supposedly being from Russia.
Hmm That or well, Rusev's not getting a title. It's Cena, as he of course that leads us to the next match where he had his open challenge that's meaningless, and Kane filled that void this week. And did his job, and which is losing to Cena.
Yeah, the open challenges are cool. I like them. I like Kane. I just right now with the until after their match with Rusev and Cena Extreme Rules, I pretty much am just blah on it.
Yeah, it
I'm
means
just
nothing.
like,
It means not. It's just a way to get Cena on TV. And you
yeah,
know, with this whole thing, doesn't it feel like we're seeing actually less of Cena? There's no heavy emphasis on Cena. He just comes out once, does his open challenge, and that's all we see of Cena. For a guy that was like headlining shows every week and the top guy, being just overly fed to us. Now you just see him once in the middle of the show. And that's
that's
it.
funny because I've never noticed that until now that you mentioned it. That's
Yeah, it just
very
we've
true.
seen Cena for 10 minutes or so, and right after WrestleMania so far, and for this entire month, and that's it. He's off the show.
We used to see him open, close, maybe a
Fill
segment
every
or two.
gap. Yep,
Yeah.
in between.
Wow, that's so true. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, so you had that. So less Cena. Obviously, kind of wrap it up. You basically had the second last hour of Raw was Miz and Mizdow kind of ending that feud in a sense. I think Summer Rae turns on Mizdow when she barely was even with him. I think she was with him for one Raw,
Yeah, she was on for a week.
and then she already turns on him. Okay, don't really get that.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, but it seemed to me like it was a blow off of the feud between those two. Well, it's technically gonna be what's gonna happen at the pay-per-view, but in a sense, this is the beginning of the end of this feud.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't think it's gonna last past this pay-per-view. It's just yeah, it's just a way of kind of ending it. I mean, it was a long build, and they really could drag it out. But I mean, it hasn't even been announced for the pay per view. It kind of worries me, thinking it might not actually even happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I expected it to be at least to end it at Extreme Rules. That's what I
Yeah.
thought they were gonna do. Cause wasn't it at Raw? Wasn't there matches like the winner gets to keep the Miz part?
Mm-hmm.
So now he's Damien Sandow again.
Right.
So I don't.
And
I would have saved that for Extreme Rules personally.
yeah, that should have definitely happened in Extreme Rules, and especially since the card isn't overwhelming at all.
Mm,
We're gonna get to that in a second, but it's just kind of bizarre everything. The Summer Rae turn and just the way of just kind of randomly killing off a feud that was starting to pick up steam actually,
yeah.
and they were getting at each other at last week's Raw. They were brawling and just kind of yeah, it was just awkward. It really awkward. I don't
Un-
know.
Unless they have something planned for Sandow
Right,
versus Miz in the future.
potentially. But
They just want to get the Miz part off of the. I don't know.
there's news of Miz going to film a movie, and I have a little bit of inside info considering I did interview Summer Rae and Miz earlier today.
Nice.
Yeah, I did a interview with them as part of the Marine 4 promotional campaign, with Marine 4 coming out on DVD today. So yeah, I got to talk to him a little bit. Too bad I didn't look at the dirt sheets, figure out a little bit more, knowing it going into it. But yeah, it did seem that Miz is going to be taking a little hiatus to film another movie. So
Is it WWE film again, or?
yes, I believe it's a Christmas themed movie.
Oh, that's right. Him and Paige are involved in it.
I believe that might be it.
I think
So
it's called Santa's Little Helper.
yes.
Yeah.
So, think Mrs. Gone right now. Just it almost seems like he was around just to promote the Marine, which is
Yeah.
coming out. Summer Rae told me that she doesn't have a match at the pay-per-view, so it's gonna be interesting to see where everyone goes from here. You know, what happens to Summer? How is Damien gonna be moved forward, and Miz is probably gonna be on a hiatus again. So yeah, I mean, they're it's kind of sad and sucky that they're killing it that quick. The feud, it was going somewhere, and it's probably the best thing either guy has done in a while,
Yeah.
and just kind of comes to an abrupt end. It almost makes me think, could this potentially be the beginning, quick beginning to the end of Miz's career, in a sense, his in-ring career? It seems to me, and I'm actually going to be posting the interview. I haven't decided if we're going to just be posting the interview at the end of this podcast, so in connection with this podcast, or do a separate post on our Wrestling Authority site. But people will be able to check out that interview I did with Miz and Summer Rae. But seems to me like WWE sort of maybe phasing out Miz from in-ring competition, and maybe moving him to be kind of their more of their focal face of WWE films, you know, in a sense that he now is kind of the face of the Marine series, and he's doing more and more movies for him. He could potentially return, I'm thinking, maybe as like an announcer, because they're in a need for one.
I can totally see that, because if you see everything from like his life, his personal life,
Mm-hmm.
his wife. Well, he moved to LA with his wife
Right.
Maurice. She has her own clothing, fashion, whatever company out there. He's done movies, and he's doing them more frequently, like you said. And I can totally see him ending his in-ring career and trying to focus a little bit more on acting for
Yeah,
WWE Studios, at least while he's under contract.
that's right.
And I can definitely see him being tempted when his contract expires to try out full time in Hollywood.
You know, and he actually mentioned to me today how in a sense he was inspired by Batista and The Rock, seeing how they were WWE products, and you know, and kind of developed, and he said that he would like his career to go that way. You know, obviously no one is The Rock. That's one unique guy, but
Yeah.
you know what? If Dave Batista can make it in Hollywood and be a big timer, which he has
Mm-hmm.
become, Miz has more charisma than Batista, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's possible, you know.
But Batista, I think, got lucky though with
He did with
Guardians of the Galaxy.
he did. His size obviously helped him because he didn't have much acting ability. But you can say also this for Batista, that he did do some movies. Um, he did a movie with RZA, you know, before. I'm forgetting the name of it. Uh, but yeah, he's done a few movies before Guardians. Guardians obviously blew him up to stardom in a sense,
Right.
but he did do some, you know, smaller films before that, so he did have somewhat of a little career going.
Yeah.
And Miz, you know, with his MTV pass, he's been around the camera for a while,
Right.
and he's done a bunch of others besides the Marine movies. He's done another Christmas movie for, you know, ABC Family. He's done
That's right.
movies, and he's been just kind of involved in a lot of different films. So, the guy's been on screen. He's got some experience, and I could definitely see if a guy like Batista can make it. You know, there's no reason why a guy who's great. You know, Miz's best attribute is talking. You know, talking and you know, that way. So I could definitely see that.
How funny would it be to see a Rock and Miz movie?
That would be funny. But yeah, I could see definitely something like that happening, especially for a guy who wants that type of career and is
Yeah,
probably pushing already for it.
yeah, I can see that. I agree with what you're saying. He's
Hmm.
probably in the beginning of the end of
Yeah.
his in ring career. I can see that.
Yep.
But the thing that scares me the most is what is WWE going to do with Damien Sandow?
Right. That is the question because he had a good thing going with that feud
Mm-hmm.
with the Miz. They had something for Sandow and they had the fans behind him. But now, what do you do?
I what I think,
He was over with Mizdow, the character.
right? What I think, and this is just I'm throwing
Hmm.
this out, picking this out of nowhere. With Daniel Bryan having his health issues,
Hmm.
if he cannot defend the title at Extreme Rules, if let's say they strip him of the title and they whatever, can they throw Sandow into the title picture?
He technically could because he probably is one of the most over guys in the mid card right now.
Mhm.
With the
And I think
fans.
and I think him and Bad News Barrett would be pretty fun to watch
It,
together.
it would. And you do need, you see, you look at Daniel Bryan and what he's doing with the Intercontinental title and who his potential feuds are. You know, you look at guys like Barrett, but I mean, I don't know how many times you can roll with that.
Yeah.
He might have to go for the U.S. title.
Mm-hmm.
You have a guy like Sheamus who's a potential opponent for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have the Luke Harpers, Dean Ambrose, but they're not going to do face versus face like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ziggler could be involved in that scene, but you know, you give a guy like Damian Sandow the chance here if Bryan can continue, and that opens different possibilities. He would be a fresh feud for Wade Barrett. He would be a fresh feud. I don't know if you want to feed him to Sheamus, who they're pushing, but he would be a good feud for Luke Harper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there are possibilities for him. You know, even maybe like a Rusev. You know,
Yeah.
so there are possibilities for Damian Sandow in mid card, especially a guy like Cody. What another feud with Stardust, you know?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Eh,
from their old days.
That's right. So there's stuff for him to be done. Let's just hope they actually do something.
Right. That's the thing. That's the part that worries me.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the Raw concluded with Orton and Rollins just the way it started.
Mm-hmm. Inside
So
that steel cage.
yeah. So that was a setup from the beginning. Kind of knew that's gonna end that way, and you know, just try to sell the pay per view. But yeah, overall, I thought the Miz thing was a bit confusing on the
Mm-hmm.
show. Um, you know, you did it. You know, it was centered around Rollins and Orton's match. You did have a lot of Kane influence throughout, and Triple H making appearances. But that was about it. You know, I don't know what other matches did they have really to sell. I feel like they didn't do much or try to sell much on the Cena Rusev match besides his promo.
Yeah.
But you can't sell a match that's just that uninteresting because they've done it this for the third time and it hasn't been working since the first time.
And that's the thing, like going into Extreme Rules, the only two matches that I really want to watch
Hmm.
are the Harper Ambrose match and the main event for the title.
Yeah, I mean, let's actually look over the card right now.
Yeah.
As I'm looking right now, I don't see a Miz versus Sandow, which is probably not going to happen. But we do have a Chicago Street Fight, Luke Harper versus Dean Ambrose. We have a Kiss My Arse match, Sheamus versus Dolph. A lot of gimmick matches already, I can tell.
Yeah.
Last Man Standing, Roman Reigns versus Big Show. You're probably going to have your pre-show match, kickoff match is going to be Cesaro and Tyson Kidd versus the New Day in the tag team titles.
Mm.
Daniel Bryan versus Barrett, interesting there for an Intercontinental title.
Because that match, I heard that one's in jeopardy at the
It
moment.
potentially could. And the Russian chain match which is really a cowbell match, you know, that JBL perfected.
Yeah.
Cena versus Rusev, and then obviously Rollins versus Orton for the title. I mean, looking at this, it's somewhat of an underwhelming card, especially for Chicago.
Yeah.
You have a few rematches, obviously Rollins versus Orton, this time for the title. So you have your Cena versus Rusev rematch. I mean, yeah, it's pretty fresh. I mean, not that many rematches as typically they would be at Extreme Rules.
Right.
There's usually at least 3 WrestleMania rematches. You only have 2 here, and one of them's different because it's for the title
Mm.
between Orton and Rollins. But the other matches, just I don't know. You're definitely missing a guy like Wyatt on this card, and it just kind of sucks that he's not on it for whatever reason. A name like that should be on this card.
Right, and that's the thing. Like when the online rumor was talking about who Bray Wyatt was calling out, who the name supposedly might be, there was a section for fans to comment,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually liked a lot what the fans were saying. They were saying, "What if Wyatt is calling out Randy and he screws Orton in the steel cage match to help out Seth?"
That would be very interesting.
I was like, "Dang."
We haven't seen Bray really help any other wrestler out.
Mm,
He's kind of a guy that works for himself.
right.
But that would be an interesting twist to set up a feud with. I would love to see an Orton Wyatt feud. That's a good feud right there.
Oh, I agree. That's in my opinion. That's main event matches, and those two, their characters would be so cool to see one on one on the mic.
Yes. The
So
thing is, though, it'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of torn 50-50 as to will they continue Rollins versus Orton some way after this pay-per-view, or because Randy does actually have some options. Like you mentioned, he's got the Sheamus option. He's got the option of Bray Wyatt, which is a good idea. He has an option to face the Authority, which would be Kane or Big Show. Technically Big Show because we see the Kane thing falling apart. I mean, Randy Orton's fresh as a face. He has a lot of feuds. He has a potential feud with Rusev, which would be really fun to see.
oh, that'd be a cool one.
Yeah, so Randy's got options for sure. Rollins, I think we're kind of pegged him as versus, I mean, realistically, Roman Reigns. And I don't know who else Rollins could work with. I mean, you could see him do a feud with Daniel Bryan, which would have been really good. But
Oh
but
man, that
that's
would have been.
uncertain right now.
Do you think May? I don't think so, but I would like to see, just because they, like you said last week, they tore the house down every time.
Oh yeah,
Ambrose and Rollins.
oh yeah, they would. But Daniel Bryan's such a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Dolph Ziggler would be a good choice right now if you wanted to elevate Dolph Ziggler at any point. This
Yeah.
would be the time right now after this pay per view, heading into May. A pay per view like Payback or even the Money in the Bank. Then, but I think Ziggler would be a good time for him to kind of enter that main event scene.
Yeah, it's true because they can't give Rollins Sheamus. They can't.
Right.
That's two top heels. The Dolph Ziggler one would help out work out a lot. I'm just trying to think of other names Rollins can get, but
How about another? Would another Dean Ambrose feud with Rollins be played out or no?
what I'm thinking is, what if they have Ambrose chase Rollins and somehow they keep screwing him over?
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose wins Money in the Bank, and then for the next, let's say, 8 months or so, no, let's just say next year, he just messes with Rollins. He's like, "Oh, I'm cashing in. I have the briefcase now."
Yeah, I mean the only question is how long do they keep the briefcase on Rollins? Does he? I mean, for me, he must keep it until SummerSlam. He just must
Yes,
if he needs to be
yes.
legitimized. I could see him dropping it at SummerSlam. I did propose earlier a triple threat with Reigns and Ambrose at
Oof,
SummerSlam.
oof, but that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you have the Shield kind of going at it.
Hmm.
And as they're trying to build the SummerSlam as the number 2 pay per view now they're gonna go to Brooklyn. They want to make a splash. I think they're gonna put a good card up there.
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna try to. They're gonna
So
definitely
that
try
could
to.
happen, but for me, Seth Rollins needs to hold it till August. This title,
Hmm. I
and
agree.
you're gonna
Yeah.
see Brock come around to SummerSlam for sure.
Oh, that's true. I wouldn't mind seeing a Brock versus Orton feud.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, that would be great. That would be an awesome feud that I've been waiting for. I mean, the way Randy's being billed as a top face versus Lesnar would be a tremendous match.
Do you think? Actually, no.
And Ricky is checked out. And you're back.
There we go. Sorry about that. Not sure what happened.
There he is. Fell off the
um,
face of the earth. Just Brock Lesnar. It was Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman.
we're. I'm a Heyman guy. I'm sorry. What I was gonna say is, now the Authority or Stephanie suspended Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton is bugging the hell out of the Authority, right? What if for SummerSlam they had enough of Randy and they call back Brock?
That is very likely to happen. That's a great scenario to bring Brock back because they need to reinstate him at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You're
And
not
they're
going to
like,
reinstate him for Rollins, that's for sure.
right. So they're like, you know what? We'll end your suspension. Take out Orton.
Yeah, I could see that.
I just thought about that right now. I was like, hey, not too bad. Not too bad. That would be a huge match for SummerSlam.
Oh, huge. Could be a co-main event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's something to consider. Yeah, going back to this Extreme Rules, we're still a few pay-per-views away from SummerSlam. Tyson Kidd Cesaro going over that match prediction versus New Day. It's probably going to be the opener. What do you think about that?
I think.
You think New Day gets that title, or
I think it could go either way.
I agree. I hope they keep it on Cesaro though.
Same. I hope Cesaro and Kidd retain, but I think it could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Especially with this mini push New Day's getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the only reason I think New Day has a chance.
Yeah, I'm still ultimately going to go with Cesaro and Kidd retaining that one.
I'll put my money, I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
If I have to bet, I'll go with Cesaro and Kidd, and I think them two can put far more entertaining matches with Lucha Dragons.
Oh, yeah. Then the Chicago street fight that they announced, Luke Harper versus Dean Ambrose.
I love Chicago street fights.
Yeah.
Just because Chicago's name's in it. I love Harper. I love Ambrose. I think Ambrose wins this one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be so entertaining, so much fun. Just because these two are nuts.
They are nuts, and they're going to do anything possible to put their bodies at risk.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to see a beat 'em out, slug 'em out type of fight. I think there are going to be some good bumps in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, there's no denying that Ambrose needs the win and will get the win.
Yeah.
I think Luke Harper is a good guy in the middle of the card to kind of put over the other guys.
Mm-hmm. He's a guy that it doesn't hurt him in the long run.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to lose at all.
Yeah.
As long as he's involved with some name guys. Mm-hmm. And Ambrose, just a loss would look bad. So Ambrose definitely wins that one. Mm-hmm. And it should be a fun match.
It should, especially because I love how Harper, for his size, he's not scared of throwing his body in the air.
No, he's not. Then my Kiss My Arse match, Sheamus versus Dolph. Now, I just hate that gimmick to this one. You don't need a gimmick. You can just go straight up, these two. You know, that's already an entertaining match. Dolph could wrestle with anyone. Sheamus is tearing people up. Why include a goofy gimmick? I don't even know what happens when whoever wins. Are they actually doing the Kiss My Ass Club type of thing?
That's I looked it up, and apparently it is a Kiss My Ass match. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? My money's on Sheamus. I feel like they have no shame in embarrassing Ziggler. But
they don't, and Sheamus cannot come back and lose his first match. This one's a shoo-in. Definitely Sheamus is going over on this one cleanly. It might be even in dominant fashion.
I can see at least the last few seconds of the match, just him owning.
Yeah.
Ziggler's gonna run into that big boot, and 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think Sheamus wins this one and has to win this one. Last man standing match, Roman Reigns versus Big Show. I kind of like that it's a last man standing match. It's going to add something. You can definitely see these two go all over the arena. Mm-hmm. I think Roman's easily wins. This is a no-brainer.
Same. Roman's going to win, but I think it should be fun seeing Roman go up against a 7-foot giant and then seeing how he reacts when Big Show gets up a couple of times. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a no-brainer. Roman wins this one.
Yeah, and I think they're going to make Roman look really strong. I think he's going to ultimately dominate Big Show and really knock him out or win in convincing fashion.
The question I ask you, though, Do you think the crowd is gonna give Roman crap during that match?
We're in Chicago, so yes, they will. There's no doubt about it. I think he will get it. I think Big Show will be cheered, as crazy as it seems, and but it won't matter. I think they'll still book it that way, where to
Yeah,
make Roman look really strong, as they should.
yeah,
They should do that. So that's a no brainer. But Roman Reigns will be booed in Chicago. There's no question.
yeah.
Then we have the potential intercontinental match with Bad News Barrett versus Daniel Bryan. Now, will this one even happen with this news of Bryan's injury?
Well, that's the thing. We can't even say yes or no because no one really knows. I feel like it's gonna be a game time decision, and I know I feel like a lot of people will disagree with me on this one, but I would probably, if I was involved in booking, I would give it to Barrett just because of the injuries on Bryan.
I agree with that. If they actually do wrestle, I mean, they could easily just scrap this match and just kind of forget about it. Because they didn't. From what I know, they didn't do much on Raw to promote this
No,
match.
well, I think even Michael Cole even said on the show he's like the match is in jeopardy
Right.
due to the injuries. So that's what
So
I'm just like.
So that's legitimate. They're shooting with that. They don't know. And had they known, had this been some kind of work, they would have at least promoted this match and talked about it more. To have an Intercontinental Championship match at this pay-per-view is a big deal because there's nothing else really going on, and the way they've been focusing on this Intercontinental Championship from since WrestleMania, this would be the number 2 match on the card probably. As importance,
Uh,
and it's just kind of you didn't even know really that these two were even going to go at it just because of the uncertainty.
right. So that's the thing. That's what I would do. I would give it to Barrett the title, or maybe you know what, take the title off Bryant and do like an open challenge thing, a battle royal or something.
Yeah, if they
But
know he can't go, then that's what they have to do.
mm,
If he is able to go in this match, I still think you give it to Barrett just with the question concerns,
same,
and then you
same.
work off of Barrett. You get a perfect Damian Sandow gets a perfect opponent right there.
I I agree 100%. Yeah, like it's the health issues. That's the
It's
thing.
a health issues completely because the plan for them was Daniel Bryan was going to have a long run with the Intercontinental title, bring it to relevancy. But now with this, you can't trust
Right,
that
and
happening.
you can't you can't have a title on the guy who's you don't know if he's gonna be healthy or not
Right.
every week.
And as much as fans like him, it's just the reality of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one to follow come Sunday. And then we have the Russian chain match. I don't even want to talk about this. Russo versus John Cena.
I'm just looking forward to the crowd reaction for that match.
I think it's going to be booing and boring chants
Yep.
and all that because these two have worn out their welcome against each other. The feud just never took off. In theory, leading up to when they did it before when they did it at Fastlane, it sounded like a really kind of a really fun matchup. Those two, but Cena versus the Rusev undefeated, and it was something I wanted to see. But quickly, I don't want to see it anymore because they don't work well. They're stiff, they're big, they're slow, and when Cena's involved, it's just too predictable.
Right. Yeah. That's what we all know. Cena's gonna win this one. He's gonna retain
Oh
the
yeah,
title.
no question.
It's the only cool thing, I guess, quote unquote, you can say is the chain around their necks.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's the only new thing really.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cena wins easily.
Oh yeah.
Then your main event, Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton in a steel cage match with Orton not being able to use RKO.
Right. And no curb stomp technically
That's
anymore.
right, and I wanted to get to that. Apparently, WWE is considering or close to banning the curb stomp from the not only from Rollins but from the roster, and that's significant to me because that's how really Seth Rollins goes over with that move. For them to eliminate it,
That's his thing.
that's his. What would his thing be then?
He did that one move on Raw, and it to me, for maybe for another guy, it would be okay, their finisher, whatever. But to me, it's not Rollins' finisher.
Yeah.
I forgot what the move was called. It's the one where it kind of looked like a double arm DDT, and then he kicked his leg forward, and it looked like a double arm DDT mixed with a pedigree, and
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of it though.
and to me, I was just like, okay, I can see it as a finisher, but not for Rollins.
No, it's curb stomp just works so well for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's gonna be a mess to change that and have the fans convinced. But I'm expecting this to be another really good match between these two. These two can go at it, no question. We saw that at WrestleMania. They have the best feud going
Mm-hmm.
in ring and on the mic. You know, it's the most believable, most hyped and built up feud for months between these two. It's just gonna be fun to see him go in a steel cage. I expect him to deliver, and both of them. But Rollins comes out as champion, probably due to Kane or someone's interference.
I agree. Yeah, money's on Rollins. I think it's safe to say he retains. Um, I'm just excited to see what they do inside a cage, but I'm also excited to see how Rollins retains. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it'd be kind of cool if Bray Wyatt was calling out Orton and he screws him. Does Kane come out and help out Rollins even though they've been kind of going at it the past few weeks? Or is it a clean match?
You know, it can't be clean. A match like this cannot be clean with the
True.
goons around, and
True.
that's why the whole setup of a steel cage is to falsely make you think that it's not going to be involved with everyone when it is. And I think Kane now being the ringside enforcer, whatever he's going to be, he's going to play a huge role in this.
Do you see? Because I can definitely see Orton about to leave the cage and like JJ security like closing the doors, trying to screw him over.
Oh yeah.
Do you see Rollins about to escape, let's say through the door, and then Kane just slams it on him?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You got to do something in this match to have Seth go out as a sneaky, manipulative heel and come out of it that way. And so it's got to be some kind of cheap way he wins this match or survives.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun though. I can't wait to see the moves they do inside the cage. There's gonna be a high risk move for sure in that.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what Orton's gonna use. I'm pretty positive it's gonna be the punt.
Yeah, that's all he really.
But did they ban that too? Wasn't there talk of that one getting banned? I mean, if Rollins' curb stop is banned, then that one should be.
Oh, the punch should definitely be banned.
Yeah, there was talk about that too. I don't know if they actually did it.
I do remember that. I think they banned that one, and they also banned Ryder's broski boot as well when he kicks the person in the corner.
That's right.
I'm not sure. I think they are banned, so they could probably tease it, but I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be cool to see what Orton uses then.
It is gonna be cool. He might do
he's not a submission guy.
He could. He could also use DDTs off, from the turnbuckle or from the ropes where he positions someone. He's got some moves in his arsenal, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this should be obviously for me the match of the night with potentially the Luke Harper Dean Ambrose one right closely behind.
Yeah, those would be the top two. Those are going to be the top two, and then for the moment, the Intercontinental title is going to be a nice little talk for the moment, at least on Twitter.
Yeah, until we get. I ultimately do believe they're going to go with it. I think Bryan's kind of too stubborn and too much reliant, on pleasing the company. I think they will go with it, but it's not going to be a match you expect.
Yeah, it's going to be cut short.
They have to.
And it's true. I can definitely see Daniel Bryan going like, "No, screw it. Let me go out there. If I'm going to drop it, at least let me wrestle for a little bit." And that one worries me. He worries me, man. He worries me.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking at this whole card, how predictable is it? We know Dean Ambrose is going to win. We know Sheamus has to win. Roman. New Day versus Cesaro is the only potential surprise here.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about Daniel Bryan and Barrett, so that's up in the air. Cena,
Technically, we can say that match isn't predictable.
yeah, because just it can't happen. That's the only predictability. If not, then we know Daniel Bryan would have won.
Yeah.
John Cena's taking that one easily, and Rollins is. So there's no aura or no chance really of anything, but anything mentioned would be a actually huge surprise because these seem like very standard, easy to pick winners.
Right. Yeah. It's. I think that's what bothered me about the card, that it was extremely predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Extremely predictable.
Yeah.
Good play on.
I think that's what kind of bothered me. Like you mentioned, I think the tag titles are probably the only ones you can say they can go either way.
Yeah, that's the only, and that's pre-show. That's not even
Right.
gonna.
That's pre-show, and so I think the only thing that really makes you think is that how are they gonna end? How are these matches gonna end? How are they gonna be booked?
Yeah, I think that's the key. Obviously, they did a great job booking Mania with
Mm-hmm.
Seth. But what do they do here? They don't have enough of the players to the big name Impact players. What can they do to surprise? There's no Sting coming out or
Right.
anything like that. They're gonna have to do something old school and kind of plain to start
And
things out.
I was actually thinking of this question I wanted to ask, and I wanted to save it for the podcast. I was thinking about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it just me, or ever since they got rid of Backlash and Judgment Day, the pay-per-views following Mania got kind of, I don't want to say weaker,
Mm-hmm.
but okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, they have gotten weaker.
Weaker and more predictable. And I feel like when they used to have like Backlash and Judgment Day, they weren't really WrestleMania rematches. They were more, okay, WrestleMania's over. Let's start with some new stuff.
Mm-hmm. It was the new event. It was the new, stage of opening after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, yeah, it is very rehashed, and it just this card in particular, it just doesn't seem like a Chicago show. For me, if you look top to bottom, it seems just like an underwhelming show.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I guess we'll see. They always do have a little bit of a surprise for Chicago, knowing that it's such a great crowd, and we can tell you who's going to get booed and who's going to
Oh,
get cheered.
oh yeah.
Rusev's going to get cheered probably. Rollins is going to get a huge pop.
Oh man. What's gonna be louder, Rollins' pop or Cena's booze?
Oh, good question.
Because this is an anti-Cena city.
Yeah, I still go with Cena. I mean, as much as Rollins probably will be liked,
Yeah.
Cena's just so hated here.
I remember his matches against Punk, especially that Money in the Bank match. Oh dear lord.
Yep, huge heat. I think Cena draws huge heat, and I think the next guy to him drawing huge heat will be Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, you're gonna hear Daniel Bryan get the loudest pop of the night. I see Seth getting a huge pop. With also Orton might get a pretty decent pop. He does in Chicago usually.
Yeah.
Ambrose, Ziggler might have one of the hugest pops of the night.
Yeah. Ziggler be a good one. Ambrose usually gets a big pop wherever he goes.
Yeah, he does.
I think the Divas they're gonna be pretty neutral.
Yeah, I believe so because there just isn't any worthy divas out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the show. That's Extreme Rules. I wish they had Sandow versus Miz. It's a missed opportunity
Mm-hmm.
with that one. They really should have.
Do you think Sandow's on the show at all?
I think he might make some kind of cameo appearance. Yeah, I think he's gonna show up on the show.
Hopefully, man. I hope they don't go back to his old ways when he would come out with like the city jerseys and all that stuff.
For Miz now?
Yeah, do you remember that gimmick they had with him?
Yeah, they had a few gimmicks. Remember that roll of bad gimmicks that he had every week?
Yeah, I was like, man, he must have pissed someone off in the backstage
Big
or
time.
something.
No, I think they'll be fine with him. I think they'll have something ready for him, even a backstage vignette or something.
Yeah. So, ooh, how about a Bray Wyatt video?
For sure.
They definitely will have that.
Well, I mean, look at the guys that are not participating in this pay-per-view, too. There's some big-time names. You don't have Wyatt scheduled, which is the biggest one. You don't have necessarily, well, I mean, Kane has been prominent, but he's not a wrestler that's active every week. but you don't have Stardust on this show even, who's someone that's been featured.
Mm,
You don't have Ryback, who they've been really pushing.
yeah,
That's a surprise to me. How did they not include Ryback in the show?
that's what I was noticing too on Raw. Because he squashed Ambrose. That's what I noticed. I was like, dang, not he's not on the pay per view even for a small match. He wasn't even announced for a pre-show match or something.
No.
So yeah, there's a couple of names out there. Yeah, now that I'm starting to think, I'm a little surprised that it's not on the show. But I
Yeah,
think
it's not a stacked show. I think they're missing definitely some guys. I mean, they'll be there in Chicago. They'll make an appearance, but it's just not a heavy star show.
right, yeah, I don't know. I think once the summer starts and after Extreme Rules and maybe after what's next, Payback, right?
Yeah.
I think that's when they start coming up with the storylines for the summer. That's when we get a lot more things going up.
Yeah, and that concludes the Extreme Rules preview. What do you think about the Chicago crowd this week?
For the Extreme Rules,
Yeah,
man, they are rowdy.
they will be rowdy.
I love. Whenever I go to WWE in Chicago, I love being there and hearing how they are. I love watching them on TV. They just don't care about the storylines. They cheer for who they want. They boo who they want.
They do. And you know what? A pay per view like this, they will definitely voice their opinion. There seems like on the surface they're getting shortchanged.
Yeah, that's why, like I mentioned, the booking better be good.
They better save this pay per view with booking and smart booking too. So if they go cheap, there might be really repercussions to pay for.
Oh, they'll hear it at the end of the night.
They will. And this is not a town where you want to mess up anything.
A great example was Philadelphia too with the Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah, they went off on them. The fans did. So, I mean, there's not that much at stake this time.
Oh no.
But the fans will be definitely vocal for sure. And it'll enhance a so far mediocre at best looking pay per view. If I had to grade this pay per view just based on the card going into it, for me, it would be like a C minus C at best.
I was gonna give it a C.
Yeah, I think a solid C is the best they could really do. Just because of the matchups aren't that interesting. There's no, oh wow, that's cool, or I want to see it.
Do you have any wild card prediction? Like maybe something we don't expect, or
Well, I could see. Well, isn't there going to be a Divas match too? We didn't mention that. There's got to be added to it. There's got to be a Naomi match too.
Naomi versus Nikki.
Yeah, so that would be how many matches then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches with one of them being on a pre-show. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wild card, maybe a new diva debuting. I'm surprised they don't have Neville on this show the way they've been debuting him.
Yeah.
He could have gone against someone.
Yeah, they're pushing him a lot, which is cool. I like him.
There's no reason why you couldn't have a match here on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, he could have even opened, to be honest.
Yeah.
At the very least.
You could have thrown him in with someone that's missing the pay-per-view.
The Chicago crowd would have loved him.
For sure. But maybe he debuts. Debuts just comes out and does something. I just don't see much surprise here. I don't.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something, a twist. I think the only thing we can the only time I think we can expect something to be unexpected would be the main event.
Right.
Besides that, I can't think of anything really.
Could they add a twist or some kind of turn, or just to spice things up? You obviously can't take the title off of Rollins, but there's other things you could do. You could do a
Jamie
turn.
Noble turns.
Oh, well, that would make a difference. No, the only expected thing is I think you asked for something, a turn. I think Kane turns on Rollins, but Rollins still wins. Maybe after the match, Kane beats him down, that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's it for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. We'll see what happens this Sunday. And yeah, good podcast again, huh?
Yeah, loved it. Loved it. I can't wait to see what happens, and then we can talk about the post Extreme Rules and the Raw next week.
Yeah, we can do a post-show review definitely with that, and as I said, I'll be attaching also, or maybe separately, but look out for the Miz and Summer Rae interview that I just did. Some little bit more scoop and insight into what they're up to. Obviously, they might not be in Chicago, even though Summer Rae is living in Chicago, from what I found out.
Really?
Yes, she told me, because I actually mentioned about them being in my hometown and where I'm based in for the pay-per-view, and she just went so crazy and happy, saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm from Chicago too. I live there." Whoa, I didn't know that.
Wow, I thought, because I know most of them either live in Florida or Cali.
Right, I was surprised to hear that Summer Rae's Chicago civilian citizen,
Wow,
whatever,
wow.
lives here. That was interesting. We obviously know Miz lives in LA, but Summer Rae in Chicago, that caught me off guard. That would make that make a nice number of people, prominent wrestlers living here, besides, AJ and CM Punk, or kind of former, but they're still huge names. You had obviously Victoria here having the bar or restaurant.
Right.
I believe she moved back to LA.
Yeah, she had from what I heard, she's getting a divorce from her husband.
Yeah, there's something going on there, so that prompted that. But she was established here for a while.
Right.
But losing my voice, it must be WWE cutting me off.
It's JJ Security.
JJ Security, talked about him too bad. But yeah, Summer Rae is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing against Chicago. I think it's so
random in the sense.
Yeah, random.
Yeah, I totally expected her to live in like Florida by Orlando or something.
Yeah, I mean, most of them live there. I know. I think Daniel Bryan's over in Seattle with Nikki, if I'm not mistaken.
They're all over. I think they're Arizona and Seattle type of thing.
Yeah, and Cena. I know Cena and Nikki's with Cena. They have Florida and Arizona
and then San Diego, I think.
It'd be awesome to have that type of money.
Right? He lives everywhere. That's his location. But yeah, it just seems like everyone kind of is either Florida or LA. That's their main destination. That's where they live. Spread out. But interesting, where Summer does in Chicago.
Huh. It'd be cool if we see her around or something.
Yeah, it would. I'm suddenly happy that I can maybe run into someone named Summer Rae at a bar.
run into Summer Rae in the summer.
Well, technically it's Danielle Moynette. That's her name. So, little inside scoop. But yeah, that was kind of cool. Cool to hear that.
Damn.
So everyone in Chicago, keep your eyes open if you see Summer Rae.
Yeah, especially this weekend. Or no, probably.
That's right. Yeah, she'll probably be around.
Nice, not too bad.
So we ain't watching the pay-per-view on WWE Network for $9.99. We are looking out for Summer Rae in bars around here.
There we go.
That's definitely the spirit. But yeah, so yeah, we're good. That's it for this week's episode, everyone. Make sure to check out that interview. I'll be posting it. It's a fun little interview, about 10-11 minutes with Summer Rae and Miz, and we will be back at it next week to review Extreme Rules and talk about Raw again. See what happened at this pay-per-view. Will Chicago, the crowd, do something to throw things off for WWE?
Let us know what you guys think. Check out the other podcast. Let us know what you guys think about that one too. Feel free. Go ahead.
Yeah,
follow
that's right.
On Twitter.
That's right. Yeah. Spread the word, everyone. The Wrestling Authority is going strong every week with me and Ricky, and we're getting it done here. So hopefully we'll get more involvement, more kind of interviews like that with Miz and that I did Summer Rae and more possibly joining our show here at some point. So there's a lot of big things happening coming this way. We're just getting started.
Oh yeah, just like Bo does, man. Bo leave.
And hopefully I don't get knocked out by Roman Reigns now. Randomly, the Superman punch. I will save that for another day.
Yeah, save that for another day. We need to do another show soon.
Yeah, I cannot afford that. So, all right, signing up. See you guys next week.
Have a good one, guys.
Sounds good.